Hey, so we haven't been on YouTube as much recently because I was applying for my dream job. And get this, I didn't get it because of 1 point. I was 1 point on a test that could have landed me the job. And I think you will be blown away by the process and everything that I kind of learned and went through that may even shock you, the design, the layout, how this kind of unfolded. So we'll kind of start with roughly 7 months ago. I found an online website where you could apply for jobs, and they were pretty high, for the most part, high level, a lot of coding, AI jobs, and they involved, how do you put this? Well, we'll skip that for right now. But one of the also pluses to this is they were all pretty high paying. So it was really exciting. And even had some friends that had some questions about legitimacy of this website. So I did a lot of research and kind of figuring out, okay, is this real and whatnot, and kind of went forward in the process. So the first thing that you do is you take this CCAT test, CCAT, and this checks your cognitive ability just to see kind of where you're at. And they have a bunch of math problems and spatial reasoning patterns. And so the first one, there's no real stress. You have a time limit. You got to answer 50 questions in 15 minutes. And they tell you, don't use a calculator because you'll probably have to take this test again. So you just take it. Well, there's no stress to take it. I did pretty well on the test. And so that was exciting. And I applied for 2 of these elite teacher jobs that they had for private schools that were definitely a step up, that things that I had been preparing for. It was really awesome. I've been using AI tools and advancing my skill set with AI tools, with teaching, with students. And so something I was super excited about, I started looking at their website and all of their philosophy and their way of teaching, and it was a match up. So really aligns with our values, and even with what the Bible teaches. Their students score the highest on testing across the states, across the United States, and they do amazing high-level things that even adults are blown away, because adults aren't even doing that. And there's some reasoning behind that. We'll talk about that maybe in a different video, because they could be. But it's the way they do things and the philosophy and what's behind it. So from there, so I applied for these 2 jobs, and I go through a process and everything. I got to go through a couple of test assessments and an AI interview, and I get 3 interviews, 2 for one job and 1 interview for the other. And then the application just disappears. You get not even an email, just in the website, it just lets you know, hey, your application has been closed. You got to move on to a new opportunity. So that keeps it real strict, like they may have liked you up to. So the interviews at that point I didn't know, but basically I wasn't maybe the best fit for them, so I didn't go to the very, very last step, which I didn't know what that was yet. So then I kind of dropped it. There were a few other jobs that were kind of higher level that I was interested in. So I went back to the drawing board, but still doing a lot of professional development and training to increase my skills. So I move on. So we're back to doing a lot more YouTube videos again. And 6 months go by where I can reapply for a job again. Well, I just happened to look at it. My wife was like, hey, maybe look again. And lo and behold, there is a high school job at an elite private school. Same school, specifically though for high schoolers. I teach high school. I've been teaching high school for 13-ish years. Same philosophy, right? Everything just lines up. And it literally, like, even my current job and things, it just felt like God had lined things all the way up to this point. And so I'm just like, okay, super excited. So I apply. The first thing was an assessment, a motivational, can you motivate students assessment with, they give you specific scenarios, and you got to answer the questions, and then you go through all these questions and you get rated. So I passed that. Then I had to do another assessment for coaching. And so I had to write this paper on my background in coaching and why different things about my coaching philosophy. And so then I passed that one. Then you get an AI interview. So then AI, which is really thorough, it was literally like somebody interviewing you, asked me questions about my background. And then once I answer that, then it asked me more questions and kind of trying to narrow things down to see, like, is my philosophy going to line up? Is it going to be a great fit with this company, this private school? And so I passed that with flying colors, which is awesome, right? My philosophy, mentality, the things that I've been practicing, everything is lining up for this. After the AI interview, then I get an interview, which turns out to be, this time different from the other jobs. I got the head of the high school. And I felt the connection, talking with him. It was like amazing conversation, just asking questions. I asked him questions, kind of just felt like I was a good fit too. Like I was super excited. I loved his personality, his energy. And from there, so I passed that. He loved it. He invited me down. So I take a full day off work. I go down. He introduces me to the other teachers, which essentially are guides. Well, they're called guides. They're kind of like teachers, but different role. So they guide the students, and that's your job. And it's awesome. Maybe for another video. But nonetheless, these guides, they all kind of asked me questions and interviewed me too. They got to show me a tour of the facility, more on how they run things. And yeah, it was super exciting. And they all interviewed me. And then they start kind of like a pre-student interview where they have a bunch of students in pairs come in. So 2 students came in, interviewed me. They leave, another 2 students come in and interviewed me, and then another 2 students interviewed me. And so I felt like I really connected, answered their questions, and really felt like a good fit. It went really well. So from there, I leave. And so that interview, then they get back to me essentially a week later, roughly somewhere in between there, that it went great. Everybody, the students that interviewed me loved me, and the guides loved me as well. So they basically say that they have to vote for you to get hired on, and it was a yes. So I'm like, all right, this is amazing. So I'm getting pumped up, getting excited, right? They're telling me things. I'm getting really excited. The next week, they asked me to come do a job shadow day, and they sent me the information through email to prep me, and then they told me that I'm going to meet all the students and kind of hang out for the day and see what a lot of what they do and planning and talking and the activities. And then if the students get a say because they help choose who they're hiring on. So I come back, I got to take off another full day of work, and I come back, I do that full day of job shadow, and I felt really great about it. Felt like I really connected. I talked with all the students. I had, probably over 20 student names memorized, and what projects they're working on, and what their at least current goals are, and a lot of future goals. And it was awesome. I had a lot of fun that day as well. And so again, I'm getting even more pumped up and excited. This just seems like the perfect fit, right? It almost like one of those things where you're like, too good to be true, but it's coming true. Not. So then I leave a week later. As I'm leaving, they tell me basically, we'll let you know how everything goes and what the students have to say. And then the next step after he gets back to me would then be he would talk to me about an offer, and then I would need to take a proctored test, which then he let me know. He said, hey, prepare and get ready because we've lost good people that have interviewed for the job from the test. But no big deal, because it's the test that I took before, except for I'm like already kind of getting some nerves about it. So I leave a few days later, because it's like Thursday or Friday, I think, or something like that. So over the weekend, the next week, it was like maybe a Tuesday or Wednesday, they let me know, hey, the students were all in and they wanted to offer me the job, but I have to take this proctored CCAT test, and then through the website, they're going to then provide the offer and sign all the documents and do a background check and all that. So I'm like, okay, no big deal. So we're going to do that. At the same time, my brother-in-law's mom dies. I can't remember. There were so many things that happened. My car starts acting up. We've got 5 kids. We had a few things going on, some family, I can't remember exactly what it was, but family emergency or something, and there's just a lot going on, some stuff going on with my brother in the background, and I'm just like, well, I'm going to nail this test. I've been heavily studying on my math skills. It's percentages and ratios, and not very many fractions, but basically I study up on that, and I take the first test, and I was not there, like, present. I took the test, and I don't know what I was thinking. I should have postponed it, but I just took the test. Well, I didn't pass, and so they said, no worries, you get another try. Oh, a little bit more pressure. You get one more try. So I go to take it the next time, and immediately when we go to take it, they set everything up for the test. They're watching me on camera to make sure you can't cheat or anything, that everything's honest and legit. And I'm not worried about that anyway, so I'm taking the test. And even before we got started with the test, the internet was kind of acting funky. So they connect through my phone and the camera and share your screen. And the download and upload speeds are fine, but the ping is super high. And there's a bad delay. So we go back and forth, we're running checks, we're trying to speed things up. I connect my phone to its provider instead of the home internet, and that seems to kind of help. So I'm kind of thinking like, okay, well, we should be good. Like, do I postpone it? Like, the head of the school's waiting on me. My wife, is also like excited and waiting, and I'm like, okay, I've been prepping, I'm ready, I should just do this, right? So I go ahead and I text my wife during this moment, and there's some confusion in text messages too, because I had texted her earlier that day that she hadn't got those text messages. So she's reading through those at the same time. So we have a little miscommunication, and because I'm not sure if I should postpone the test or not, and the way I'm in the middle with the guy, and I'm texting her on my phone, hey, I'm about to start the test, should I go ahead and do it? Or, and so I'm in the middle of doing that, and I'm not all there. And then my wife had a misunderstanding with the phone, so she's like, well, yeah. And so I go ahead and do the test, and man, the test is lagging bad. Like, some of the questions were at least 3 seconds delay that I'm losing. And this is a time test. You only get 18 seconds per question, really. I mean, you could spend more than that, but you got to spend only 18 seconds per question. And I'm clicking next, and I am feeling good about this test, though. I am like answering the questions. I'm so excited because I'm like, oh my gosh, I got this question, I got this question, I got this question. Some of them I'm nailing within 3 seconds. And so I'm feeling absolutely great. And I don't know if it was just like the nerves mixed with the excitement, but somehow I miss it by 1 point. And I miss it by just 1 point. So I do really good on the test, but I miss it by 1 point for the job requirement. And so then, and I don't know, the test ends. I have to, they say goodbye because they're just proctoring it. They say goodbye. I got to log back into the portal of the website and check my score. So I log back in, and it's like, yeah, oops, you didn't get, the score. And then so I go in and look at it, and I'm 1 point shy away. And then I start doing the math. I start calculating everything. I was like, man, I could have answered a bunch of questions at the end without having to guess, running out of time, because I kept losing 3 seconds almost every question. And so, okay. But basically, kind of had that moment of sadness. It was a very rough day. Like, I was holding back the tears because I was like 1 point away of everything that I've gone through, and I could have this and and I would have the job. But just this CCAT test, one question away. So I pretty much settle it that, okay, it's probably one said and done. And this is an emotionally rough day for my wife as well. So I email the head, and I let him know, like, hey, I was only 1 point away, but the test was lagging. I had talked to the test proctor, and he put it in the notes and said that maybe we'll see what we could do, because that was something we were worried about at the beginning of the test. And so yeah, and then I just kind of let it go, and it was very sad for a couple days, right? And I'm getting my composure back, moving on with life, and then we get an email. Hey, we'll let you do the test again for that. We just need to, try to get the ping all fixed and try to have better internet, but this is it. You get one more since you're far away. Now, at this point, I'm like, oh my gosh, I get another chance. I'm excited, but now I'm like, really kind of freaked out. Like, everything's on the line for this test. And I thought for sure, like, I would have had a really high score on that test. And I'm thinking I must have read some of the questions too fast, right? And answered the opposite. Let's say, like, if the answer was supposed to be like 5%, but I put 95%, something like that, where you just, missed a word or got confused in between. But so tension's really mounting. So I work through. First, I have to figure out how I'm going to do this I can't be taking days off work. And so I got to wait an extra week to schedule a day that I can be able to do that on my lunch. And so I do that. I set that up, and I test every day to make sure we're going to get our internet. I'm checking with AT&T, trying to get things resolved. And I verify what time's going to kind of work. So I schedule that. I come home from work on my lunch that week later, which was just a couple days ago, and kind of feeling sad already because, I was definitely sad over Charlie Kirk dying. I feel like it's a sad day when you hear any news for anybody dying. I don't know how you could celebrate anybody dying. Still kind of a sad day. So then we had that, and just the intensity. And so we're kind of working through trying to get the right mindset, because I know, like, when you take a test, you really need to have the right mindset. And so I'm working through that, and man, it was just so many things happening. My car had broke down completely, where we only had one car. We're trying to manage everything, and then the job is hanging in the balance of this. And I'm thinking I've kind of got it situated, and I start the new test, and I get the first question, and I know the answer, and I answer it. But then that same point, I start getting, like, what I've heard people talk about, and I don't know how long it's been since I've taken a test anyway, like this. It's timed. And so, man, I just could feel my heart beating, and my brain is like, I could hear my thoughts, and I'm like, kind of telling myself, okay, you need to shut up right now and just focus. You've got to just focus, answer the questions, because you said you can do this. We're going to do this. And so I'm just like fighting this the whole time, answer all the questions, get off the thing. And it was it was way different pacing than the prior test. And so I kind of knew I wasn't able to keep the same pace this time around. My nerves and the stress just completely got to me. And so I had a feeling at the end of the test. And the guy says goodbye. I log back into the portal, and I get the news. It still shows the score, same exact score from before. And it could have been worse and just not updated. But whatever the case was, I didn't get a higher score like what I needed. And so then the next day, that was a very emotional night. I was just like, I'm going to wait till tomorrow to email him. But in the morning, I drive to work, and in the morning I get the email from the head of the school saying, hey, it's great knowing you, disappointed in the results, but we can't move forward, see ya kind of thing. Professional and nice though, but short, sweet, to the point. And yeah, I was, frustrated in the process too, because I wish I could have just had the proctor test earlier instead of not being so invested. It'd also make it less stressful. Just be able to take the test and it is what it is, and then do maybe the interviews. But instead, this is just at the very end. Nonetheless, so it's gone. It's flew away. So, but I mean, I guess on the plus side is, right, I still have dreams. That was just my dream job, which is now still those steps away, and maybe something's there, but there are still the dreams that I'm currently working on with my family and my wife. So we're gonna keep pursuing those. But talk about an interesting process. So let me know in the comments if you have any questions or your thoughts, like even encouragement, or just if you've ever heard of anything like that, if you've taken a proctored test or a CCAT test. I know they've got a few other tests out there I've heard that are like that. So yeah, let me know. Other than that, we'll see you in the next video.